Cats. That's who it is.
Let's, Rosanna, you ready?
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, you were chatting.
It's probably a great.
Everybody else is ready to start.
Okay, poke to the side.
He's at,
You're
Brookings.
poking. Lauren's poking my podcast. Packed out.
Just a second.
No. Good morning, everyone. Let's do a quick sound check. I want, Chris and Jesse and people and our Albany office and let's see.
We can hear you.
Yeah,
Everybody?
yes, we can hear
Good
you.
morning. It's Chairman Adams, Ken Adams saying hi. And just making sure, I don't see B, but I see, that looks like her office, but there's no one at the
That's
table.
Syracuse office, but.
That is Syracuse. We have Syracuse on the screen, but no person.
She couldn't be here today. She was away and she was gonna call in from her remote location, but then in the end, she said she's
So
not.
we don't have
But we
B.
don't need her for forum, we're good.
And,
right.
but otherwise, Lauren, thank you, Lauren,
we're-
for helping out today, by the way.
Yes, my pleasure.
Nice to see you. Do we have everybody else?
We do.
All right, good. Well, welcome,
We
everybody.
can go ahead.
Welcome to our, as Betsy reminded me, our Pi Day meeting, it being 3/14, 1/4/8596. And so happy Pi Day, happy March, happy beautiful spring day here in Midtown Manhattan at least. And let's turn it over to Lauren, who will start the proceedings, please.
I note that Jesse Olzak, representing the Director of the Division of the Budget, and Chris Curtis, representing the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance, are participating in the meeting via video conference from the New York State Division of Budget Conference Center at the Capitol Building, room 131 in Albany. Notice of these locations has been made public, and the public has the right to attend and observe the proceedings from either location.
Lauren will open up we're going to start today with HFA, AHC, and HTFC meetings. And we're going to first only take up the HTFC items.
But we will open all three. So I'd like to ask for a motion to open the HFA, HTFC, and AHC meetings.
So moved.
I'll second.
I will now ask for individual votes from each HFA, HTFC, AHC board member. Chairman Adams?
Aye. And remember when you do this, everybody, because it plays out through the course of the day. Okay.
Yes. Ms. Wisniewski?
Aye.
Mr. Curtis?
Aye.
Mr. Olzak?
Aye.
Ms. McEwen? Aye. Ms. Miller?
Aye.
And Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
I will ask for a motion for the HFA Finance and Program Committee.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
You are. Yes, you are.
Second,
You
sorry,
can-
second.
Yep.
Lauren will tell you.
I will tell you if we go get it. And we will accept the prior votes of Chairman Adams, Mr. Curtis, and Mr. Olzak for that. And we can now move to the HTFC agenda.
Are you going to do audit committee? Or you
I'm Lauren. I'm sorry. Can you open the
I'm
audit
sorry,
committee for
we didn't do
HTFC,
it.
please?
My apologies, we do need that. I ask for a motion for the HTFC Audit Committee
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
We will accept the prior votes of Chairman Adams, Mr. Curtis, and Mr. Olzak. And I realize that on the HFA Finance and Program Committee, I identified them instead of Chairman Adams, Ms. Wisniewski, and Mr. Olzak.
Well, it's all good now, Lauren.
So we're
Thank you.
set.
We're set. So we can move on to our first item in HTFC on the HTFC agenda for today. And it's the minutes of the board meeting that we had a month ago on February 15th, 2024. And those minutes shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members or directors. Any comments, questions, concerns about the minutes from last month? Hearing none, those are approved. Item 2, resolution approving the Housing Trust Fund Corporation 2024-25 administrative and programmatic budget.
Good morning, everyone. I am here today to present for your consideration the 2024-2025 administrative budget for the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. In addition to the administrative budget request, I'm also including an estimate of state and federal programmatic funding that may be available to the corporation over the next year. Obviously, the programmatic funding is dependent upon both the state final budget and the federal budget that will be issued in October, hopefully. So the amounts that are presented are coming off of the proposed executive budget. For the administrative budget, we're projecting increases in both revenue and expenses. The increase in revenue is primarily a result of increases to the project-based contract administration. As you're probably aware, the PBCA contract administration funds are administered by us from HUD, and HUD has indicated that they will be issuing a new notice of funding or RFP to administer these funds. However, we're not anticipating that at least until fiscal year 25-26. So for this year, we are proposing a full year of PBCA fee revenue, which is a little bit different than we've done in prior years. In addition to the full year of the PBCA fee revenues, we also are anticipating an increase in the fees. We had additional units added and the fee rate actually increased. So our PBCA fees are anticipated to increase. We are also expecting some increases from our federal administrative cost recovery revenue. As the board is aware, we generate cost recovery revenue from the various federal programs. Traditionally, most of that has come from our CDBG, our Community Development Block Grant, and our home programs, as well as HCV, Section 8. But we're also expecting some increases in the revenue from the CDBG CV program, the home ARPA program, some weatherization funding through the bipartisan infrastructure law, as well as community development block grant disaster recovery funds from IDA. As consistent with prior years, HTFC Corporation pays for the expenses for those programs and then on a quarterly basis requests reimbursement from those federal funds. What is not included in the administrative budget is the CDBG disaster recovery, Sandy, Irene and Lee, and NDR programs. As consistent with years past, the cost of those programs and the administrative costs of those are all embedded within the programmatic funding of the unit that is now RHC, but was formerly known as GOSER, Governor's Office of Storm Recovery. The expenses are also anticipating an increase, a lot due to the PBCA program as well. With the increase in the fees, we also have an increase to the main contract that we have with CGI. We also need additional staffing, which is increasing our budget a little bit because of the number of federal and state programs that are coming under the portfolio. The housing plan funding that we've gotten in the last few years and new federal program awards has increased our need for staffing. Other increases to the expenses are include some training costs that are needed as a result of new administrative rules governing various federal programs, not the least of which is the Housing Choice Voucher Program, or the HCV program. We're looking at budgeting for 132 staff dedicated to our core HTFC programs and an additional 23 staff that fall under the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, Sandy, Irene Lee, and NDR programs. Those staff numbers are continuing to decline as those programs sunset. The RHC unit, the Resilient Homes and Communities Office, the staffing that we will be using to do the CDBG IDA and then any of the Bond Act programs are included in the 132 core HTFC staff. At this time, I am seeking approval for the 24-25 administrative budget for the corporation. This budget will be posted to the website and will be uploaded to the ABO in compliance with the authority's budget office requirements. But I am more than happy at this point to answer any questions you might have based on the materials presented in your board book.
Stacy, thank you very much. It's a very helpful presentation. Let's open it up to questions from members. Sadie.
I just have one question. I see there's no new funding in this budget for land banks. And I was just wondering if that's because we haven't spent the money from the last budget, or we work with a lot of land banks. So it'd just be interesting to know.
Stacey, did you get a question?
Yeah, I think the question was there's no funding for land banks. Was that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, this is what was in the executive budget presented by the governor. So I'm not sure where we're going to land on that after the final budget is issued.
To answer the first part of your question, you still have money from the prior allocation of land bank that we are still.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I have two things. Ruth Ann, I think we have later in the agenda, we have at least one mortgage insurance fund item. And at that point, we might want to just connect the dots here on the projected reduction in MIF revenue, right, that we're seeing for the 23-24.
You would see that in the SONYMA budget.
What is
Right, there is a
a
small reduction in I believe the urban, the rural preservation and the neighborhood preservation corporation.
Yeah.
That's what was anticipated, but it's a small decrease. Last year they gave additional funding for that program. This is just bringing it back down to prior levels. It's not a huge reduction in those programs.
But you're right, the
But
money
I guess
does
it's
come.
related to that, right?
Yeah, so each year in the budget, it's dedicated to these three things. The base amount, and then last year there were some legislative addition add-ons, and then we go back to the base and out of it.
But
And then the legislative.
you do a projection based on your best projection and build that in. And then, I mean, this is like a
I can jump in here, Commissioner, because I'm the mean one here. So yeah, no,
Thank you,
each
Jesse.
year there's base level funding assumed for various programs throughout the governor's budget and in the financial plan. Through negotiations with the legislature, additional funding is added to certain programs and agreed to. Those adds are almost always one-time adds, so you'll see it sort of bump up with the enacted budget. And then sort of continuing in the out years of the financial plan, it sort of goes back to the base levels. So that's what you're seeing here, and with a number of these programs is the base level funding is continued and assumed and reflected in this budget. To the extent that additional funds are added in negotiation, those would obviously be reflected subsequently.
Thank you, Jesse. That's really helpful. Anybody have any other questions for Stacy? Well, let's go to Lauren.
I think we go to Sarah.
Or we go to Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I beg your pardon.
Yep.
Good morning, Sarah.
Hi, I'm here. Now before the HTFC Audit Committee is a resolution approving the Housing Trust Fund Corporation 2024-25 administrative and programmatic budget. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Audit Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the HTFC Board is a resolution approving the HTFC 2024-25 administrative and programmatic budget. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
As our representative, Stacy from the Budget Office likes to say, don't spend it all in one place. There you go. So we're now going to go to number 3. Ruth Ann is going to introduce us or present a resolution through which we will appoint or consider appointing an internal audit director, which always sounds like a good idea to me.
Yes, I'm Heidi, if you want to come sit so we can see you in person. I am delighted to recommend for your consideration the appointment of Heidi Nark, who sits in front of you, as the corporation's audit director. The corporation's audit committee charter provides that the audit committee reviews and approves the internal audit staff functions, including the appointment of the audit director of the corporation. Heidi's actually been with us since September 2023. She joined HTFC with extensive experience in auditing within New York State. She has excellent communication and analytical skills, great enthusiasm, and has brought a great deal of professionalism into the agency. Her resume is in the board memo for your review, and I am confident that Heidi will make a significant contribution to the work and accomplishments of the corporation, and I recommend her appointment without reservation. It's my favorite sentence.
Questions for the Commissioner or for Heidi herself? I'll note that state ed's losses are great gain. And we
Yes.
welcome you. And
Thank you.
do we have to do this sort of officially, formally?
We
Yes, I
should take
think
a
we
vote,
do.
right,
Yes.
Sarah?
Let's
Yeah.
put it to it.
Yep.
Thank you, Sarah.
So now before the HTFC Audit Committee is a resolution appointing an internal audit director, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Audit Committee. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the HTFC Board is a resolution appointing an internal audit director, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great when our committee and our board are in lockstep like that. It's really helpful. Heidi, welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much. I think you're going to present the next item now.
I am.
Now that you're here, now that you're on the payroll, you can start doing some work, okay? Number 4, resolution approving the Housing Trust Fund Corporation annual audit plan. Heidi Nark will present.
Good morning, everyone. The Office of Internal Audit is presenting their annual internal audit plan for 2024-2025. It was submitted to both the Audit Committee and the Board for review and approval as outlined in our internal audit charter. The audit plan includes an audit of the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, IDA program. It also includes a human resource audit, which may include HTFC. This really depends on the scope of the audit. For example, if there are HTFC employees included in that audit. Additionally, the audit plan includes weatherization assistance programs, specifically the bipartisan infrastructure law, the additional funds of $289 million. DHR administers this program. However, temporary sub-grantee contracts are executed by HTFC. So once again, depending on the scope of the audit, it may include HTFC. Additionally, as shown in our audit plan, audit planning is part of our reoccurring annual work. And this will include a risk-based approach, whereas we conduct a lot of work as it relates to research and conversations relating to HTFC programs. Additionally, each year our office will follow up on prior internal audits, audit findings. This year it will include 2 follow-up on the recommendations that were previously conducted for GOCER internal audits, which are now within our office. So we'll assess those prior findings and look at compliance of corrective action. As noted in our audit plan, we also note that we could have a request from the HTFC board regarding any audits. Also, other work that's included in our office every year has to do with external audits. So our office's external audit liaison will coordinate with other outside auditors on any audits that we might be engaged in, for example, from the controller's office. Other than that, I am open to any questions that you may have.
Heidi, questions for Heidi? I have one. What is the global internal audit standards, or what are they, I should say, for, that take effect in 2025?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Short answer to that. It sounds like a big project.
Well, the short answer would be for years, the Institute of Internal Auditors has a set of regulations or standards really that we've had to follow. They've decided to revamp those and call them the Global Internal Audit Standards. There are a lot of similarities really from the prior standards, but there have also been some revisions. But it's really promulgated by the Institute of Internal Auditors, and we do follow those as an internal audit shop. You're welcome.
Anything else? Well, again, Heidi, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Important work, and we'll take you up, we may take you up on your offer. If the board should decide there's something we want to have you look into, we'll let you know.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Sarah, can you help us with this, please?
Now before the HTFC Audit Committee is a resolution approving the HTFC annual audit plan, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Audit Committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the HTFC Board is a resolution approving the HTFC annual audit plan, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Thank you, Sarah.
Welcome.
Thank you, Heidi, again, and welcome. Number 5 is a resolution authorizing Community Investment Fund Award for, well, I'll say MCROC, although Brett may have a better way to pronounce that. Associates LLC. Brett, happy to present this one. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you. So this is a Community Investment Fund award of $2 million to rehabilitate 4 contiguous distressed historic commercial buildings in downtown Rochester. Folks who are familiar with downtown Rochester will probably be familiar with this building. It's actually on the corner of East Broad Street and East Main. If you've attended a conference there, it's basically kitty corner and a block away from the main conference center in downtown Rochester. It's a very high priority of the city and the Regional Economic Development Council there. This is 4,500 square feet of commercial space, and there will be affordable apartments on the second floor that are being funded through other means, including the Downtown Redevelopment Initiative. Our funding is essentially confined to the commercial space. Any questions?
Thank you, Brett. It's a really nice project. Long overdue for downtown Rochester. Sadie.
Sorry. I have to make something.
Sarah, we're going to note that Sadie's a recusal. Lawrence noting it too. Any questions for Brett on this project in Rochester? Great project.
Great project.
Sorely needed, all of us. We know that. Great. So Sarah, can you help us out?
Yeah. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing a community investment fund award for MCROC Associates LLC. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. 6 is a resolution authorizing an affordable home ownership program award for 214 Redev LLC. I think this is in Syracuse or Onondaga, somewhere. Well, that's a county. And have Tom present it. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Excited to present this project. This is St. Matthew's Condos. We're requesting $4.2 million in AHOP subsidy to support the conversion of a former elementary school building in the village of East Syracuse into 21 residential condos and 1 commercial condo. Total development cost here is about $7.6 million. Our sponsor here is Redev NY, which is a newer but very active developer in the sort of Syracuse metro. They've done some projects with us before, and we have some others coming down the pike as well. Participating lender here is CPC. In addition to AHOP subsidy, they also have secured a small infusion of subsidy from Onondaga County through their OCHIP program. The homes here will be sold for an average sales price of $147,000, which in this case equates to 80% of AMI. Unit mix 1 studio, 12 1-bedrooms, and 8 2-bedrooms. So skewed a little smaller than our typical AHOP project, but the units themselves are actually very spacious. They're right at the top end of what's allowable under our design standards, which is should be nice. The commercial condo is actually just the building's gym, so it's just going to continue to be used as a gym, which is cute. And they're going to put some like soundproofing so that it doesn't bother the residents. The building itself is not historically designated, but they are seeking to preserve some historic elements, especially on the exterior. Not a ton of exterior work. It's going to still keep that look and feel. Lots of public support for this one in the locality, and I think it's a good anti-blight strategy. It's not clear what the use of this property would be otherwise. It's a repositioning of this building, and it's an opportunity for affordable homeownership in a pretty well-resourced suburb of Syracuse. Happy to answer any questions.
Tom, thank you. Questions for Tom? A recusal from Sadie?
One quick question.
Yes.
Are they getting rid of the green tile?
I am not. Oh, on the ground or on the side?
Building.
On the floors or on the walls? They are doing work on the walls.
I have to tolerate that when SHPO's involved, but when they're not,
I think
it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
I think they will be redoing the walls. I think the floors are going to stay, but the walls internally are getting for sound. They're not super insulated so that people have better sound protection in their units.
When people drop dead weights on the floor. Spin class, allowed spin class.
I saw that it has this Onondaga County Housing Initiative program.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't know that we've seen that in our other things before.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking into it. It's a small amount of subsidy. I think it's only $5,000 per unit, but it seems like a very simple process, like an almost kind of as of right type deal. So, we can look into it for other things in the area.
Yeah.
Tom, it's great. Any other questions? Sarah, can you help us out, please?
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing an Affordable Home Ownership Opportunity Program Award for 214 Redev LLC. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. 7 is a resolution authorizing a New York State Home American Rescue Plan Award, or a series of awards actually, that Madeline Fletcher is going to present.
Hi, good morning, everyone. The New York State Home ARP program is a federally funded program allocated to New York State by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The main purpose of the Home ARP program is to reduce homelessness and increase housing stability. So through a request for applications, we invited housing organizations to submit proposals to create and preserve rental housing and non-congregate shelter facilities to enhance supportive services for the qualifying populations residing in the units developed, and for nonprofit capacity building to assist with the delivery of the units. At this time, following the review of applications received, we recommend the following 4 projects for funding, which totals just over $10.5 million out of a total available pot of dollars of about $79.6 million. So we'll periodically release the requests for applications and keep doing that until all the funds are utilized. First is an award of just over $1.5 million to Greater Opportunities for Broome and Shenango for a project in New Berlin, which is in Shenango County. An award just over $2.7 million for the development of rental units, along with the provision of social services as well as capacity building funding to Accord Inc. for a project in Allegheny County, so a very rural project, which is nice. An award of almost $1.5 million to the YWCA in Troy, which has been in existence for over 100 years and provides SRO housing as well as family apartments for women and women with families. And they have some major building systems upgrades to do. And then finally, $4.8 million for BCNI, Better Community Neighborhoods in Schenectady for a scattered site project. Well, they'll be rehabbing homes, 2-family homes that will be able to house families of qualified populations. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for this project? They all look, to me, they all look terrific. Super important. You know, there's so much work. I mean, you're small, right? And a lot of work goes into them, but the results for the people who end up living there are great.
Nice geographic distribution.
Yes, and as Madeline points out, at least one, well, New Berlin is pretty small. I mean, these are
Small.
and the Shenango County project is, you know, they're spread out, as you say. And Wellsville and New Berlin, you know, we don't do projects in those communities every month. Troy, you know, or Schenectady, you know, we see in the capital region, but great to be in Shenango and great to be in Allegheny counties. If there aren't any other questions for Madeline, let's ask Sarah to please make it official.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing New York State Home American Rescue Plan Program Awards. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
All right, thank you very much, Sarah. Let's go to number 8, a resolution authorizing a targeted home improvement program award for the city of Rochester. And I think this one's going to Crystal.
Thank you. Good morning. So $50 million was included in the 23-24 New York State budget for a homeowner stabilization program. This funding was intended to support the expansion of an owner-occupied home repair program piloted in East Buffalo known as BHIP. This program is called the Targeted Home Improvement Program, or THIP. Last month, we presented and received approval to advance awards totaling $41 million for the 9 regions outside of Buffalo and Western New York. This initial batch of applications did not fully subscribe the 5 million available for the city of Rochester. So we extended the application deadline to encourage more applications to serve Rochester. Happy to report that it worked, and this month we are requesting approval to award and enter into grant agreement with the city of Rochester for 4 million. So thank you for your consideration. I can take any questions from the members.
Thank you, Crystal. Any questions for Crystal on this? Sarah, can you help us out then?
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing a targeted home improvement program award for the city of Rochester, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you very much. Let's go to number 9. This is something not exactly funding to build a building, but stuff we need to do. Resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with Housing and Development Software, Inc. Again, Crystal will help us out.
We are presenting our contract with Housing Development Services, or HDS, for approval by the members pursuant to HTFC's procurement and contract guidelines and public authorities law, which require the members to approve contracts that exceed 1 year in duration or $100,000. We're requesting authorization to extend the contract with HDS for a 1-year term. This is the funds and grants management software that has been used by our state CDBG program since 2001. We pay an annual maintenance fee for the software, and this board approval will allow us to pay the $34,000 bill and continue normal operations. Happy to answer any questions from the members.
Seems like a reasonable request to me, but others may differ. No, they don't. Okay, Sarah, let's do it.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with Housing and Development Software, Inc., assuming the first and second previously entered with the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you, Sarah. For number 10, we're going to check in with Rachel to review a resolution authorizing +1 ADU program awards, a good number of them. Good morning, Rachel. Oh, she's right behind me here. Wait a second. Where'd you come from?
All right.
Hi.
Hi. Requesting authorization to award 7 program administrators a total of $36,478,000 to implement the +1 ADU program in 22 municipalities. This is these applications we received in response to a notice of funding availability we released in December. It was the second round. The first round of grantees are making their way through the program, and we're requesting to make new awards. Happy to take any questions.
Could you just remind us, Rachel, what are the grantees going to do once we empower them with this generous funding?
They open an application portal to owner occupants that are at or below 100% of the AMI. They take in those applications and they assist the homeowners in either building a new ADU or preserving an existing ADU.
So I have a question on
Yeah.
that. So do they, because I live in Tarrytown and we passed an ADU, we've had 0 applications. We've had 1 to legalize an existing illegal ADU, but one of the challenges that we found is people just don't know where to start. And once even if they make an application, it's coordinating multiple contractors. And if you're a homeowner or certainly an elderly person, which has been our focus, like that's hard to do. So does this money support a project manager to help them build out the unit as well?
Yeah, the program administrators are providing a lot of that support. So it's particularly good when a municipality has passed a zoning law that allows it as of right. But even when they haven't, the program administrators are helping the homeowners navigate the variance application process to be able to get them ready for construction, and they're providing construction oversight throughout as well. There's been a lot of seniors who have applied actually to the program.
Are we providing any best practices guidance down to the towns around like, hey, here's methodologies to do it. Here are providers of very easy modular that can go in and other sort of best practices that the state can sort of support the local municipalities to make it more effective, even outreach material?
Well, We have provided a little bit of outreach materials, but it's mostly been for the program administrators to help generate interest in the program. There are model zoning ordinances out there available on the internet. We have pointed people towards that. Folks have come to us asking. This program allows for up to 125,000 per unit, and sometimes it's not enough, and the homeowners need financing. And so we've been the program administrators have been sharing on group calls sort of what banks in New York are lending in this space and allowing certain provisions to be able to account for future rental income, for example, home. And so there's been a little bit of coordination on that. The city of Kingston released a design RFP to solicit like a detached unit that could be built for 125,000, sort of having this program in mind. They received an enormous amount of submissions from both students and professional architects, and they've made all those sort of materials available. So we're hoping that there's some coordination and sharing going on with that. Yeah.
How's it going to work in New York City?
How's it going to work in New York City? Well,
Did we award already in the first round a New York City provider? We did, right?
we did.
So I don't know, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
How is it working? in New York City?
HPD and they opened an application portal, took an enormous amount of interest from homeowners, and are just sort of in the beginning of the process of getting those approved. They haven't gotten to the point yet of being able to actually have any groundbreakings, but they're looking at their focus, because they already did a basement apartment pilot in the past. They're focusing now on really the fully detached, where they think that they're going to have a little bit more ability.
Backyard or a side yard or
Yeah, exactly.
turn a small garage into a legal apartment.
Conversions. Yeah.
Conversions, yeah. Are homeowners worried about how it will affect their property taxes? Like
Yeah.
in New York, for example?
Yes, we've heard that. We've definitely heard that. There's a bill that allows for a slight alleviation of the increased tax burden on the ADU. It decreases over a 10-year period, and it's not available in every municipality. Municipalities have to elect to allow it.
421 ADU.
There you go. It also doesn't allow for a fully detached ADU. It has to be attached to the main structure. So the law has a few limitations, but we do let people know about it.
So interesting. Be interesting to see how.
SONYMA can finance.
That's a good question.
Can
we've only
Sunny May finance.
Can Sunny
second
finance,
mortgage,
Sunny
like
May
a
finance the
equity loan?
Like a home, right?
like an eight, yeah, or
Yeah.
Do an ADU.
I don't think we have authority to do.
if they've done the
Second.
first, right? Maybe if they've done the, I don't know.
Isn't it just
Yeah.
an improvement?
I mean, you could obviously finance it if it was in the first.
First.
You're
Right.
buying the house, but I think if you already lived there and you want a, I don't know, what people get, do they get a home, they get a home equity loan probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Set up an LLC and build it as a condo. You know?
Yeah, like you could condo out the backyard.
The garage, you convert the garage. I think you convert the garage to rental units, you form an LLC. But you're the owner, you're the member. All right, never mind. It's interesting to think about. There's a business up there. You keep doing this, Rachel, you're gonna be very busy. It's gonna be complicated in New York, but.
I just wish there was a way to be more like California, just make this as right, so there would be real traction. It's
Yeah.
been a brutal experience in a small town trying to get people to even understand that this is not going to increase sex and drug trafficking, which is the concern at our local board meeting, so. And what happens then is that the municipalities pull back and they make it very restrictive, and then very few people can actually do it.
Wow.
And most of them in communities like in Lower Westchester are in existing homes. You don't even know they're there, or they're already there.
It's the basement.
So
It's our hope here, right, that this will provide, here's 340, and we did however many for the last couple rounds, that
Yeah.
as towns see adjacent towns, and we see them, or they know somebody, it will become less of a.
And I know you've been a little hands off with trying to get involved in promoting it or providing guidance, but maybe a little bit more of that from the state, I think could really give the municipality something to hang their hat on.
Yeah.
But we should give some thought to James's idea of kind of, at least a website or some source of best practices and other people's experiences and how to make it work. And
Yeah.
And profiling, this is what it looks like.
Exactly, like showcasing.
yeah, so people can look it up and go,
Oh, it just means your basement?
that's not a meth lab, right?
Yeah.
That's the fear.
With the housing
Oh,
in
man.
Tarrytown, we get a lot of
Government
complaints
funding
from
meth labs in
seniors
my
that it's
backyard.
too expensive to live
Yes, sir.
around. This is a
Not
solution.
residential.
Yeah, we're having a few groundbreakings for the first round in this next couple weeks. And so we might try to get out there and tell the stories because they're actually quite nice,
It would be great to have case studies that you could just send out to the municipalities that have adopted the ADUs.
Even tenant interviews with folks who are moving in, so you can
Testimonials.
showcase like who these are that are actually living. You know, from the NIMBYs.
The daughter of the mother daughter.
Exactly.
Where it is.
The mother moves into the apartment,
Yeah,
the daughter.
Yeah,
goes
we've
into the
seen
house.
that.
Then it's not a good interview because that could be intense.
What
Okay.
testimonial you're looking for.
Rachel, good luck, and
Thank
thank you for taking some time to explain it further and answer our questions. Sarah, can you help us out, please?
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing +1 ADU program awards. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great, thanks, everybody. 11 is a resolution authorizing weatherization HEAP program subrecipient agreements that Samantha I believe, is going to present.
Hi, good afternoon, or good morning, everyone. Sorry. Apologies for not being there in person. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yep, we're good.
Great. So before the board, I'm asking for a resolution to approve the weatherization program leveraging LIHEAP funds, which were previously approved by the board in December to use for a LIHEAP weatherization program. Award 2 of the respondees to the NOFA that we issued in February. Those are AEA for a contract amount up to $5 million and the Crown Heights Jewish Community Center for a contract award amount of up to $3.5 million to administer the LIHEAP weatherization program.
Great. Always good to see this. Any questions?
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is that the AEA contract is actually incredibly important because of the fact it's tracking contractors, which is a huge barrier. Creating a state accredited, working with AEA, which I've worked with as the incentive administrator, for example, in California, they are very helpful in providing that's the big fear for folks. And a lot of this work is like, who's the contractor they're going to do it? This is a massively important thing. So whether we can figure out whether it's with NYSERDA or with AEA to publish and put out here and really push out the name of these contractors as accredited folks, hey, we administer, giving people like an accreditation, like we are state certified to administer the weatherization program, that will go a huge way, a huge distance in supporting, I think, this folks on the building level making decisions around implementing is having an accredited contractor. So the extent to which we can work with AEA to really push out the fact that the state is supporting AEA to support these particular contractors is a hugely important thing, I think, for creating credibility in the contractor community and alleviating fears of folks and actually getting work done.
James, thanks. It's super helpful.
But it's they're a great administrator. They're part of, they're one of the national leaders in sort of working as an in-between between whether it's utilities and
local,
states and
like
other
state chapters, or
they sit all over. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Do we have links on our website to them for people who are looking for resources?
Yes, AEA is linked under our weatherization provider page on the website. AEA actually provides 2 functions for the weatherization program currently. They act as a administrator, which is what James is referencing to, supporting our entire network of 51 existing subgrantees, and they provide training to both those subgrantees as well as subcontractors. And in this capacity, they actually are directly performing the work to do weatherization installations in projects and really using and leveraging their on the grounds, administration of the program directly back into their training of the other administrators and subgrantees in the network.
Great. Samantha, thank you very much. Any other questions for Samantha about this? And James, thanks for the comments. If not, Sarah, let's make it happen, please.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing weatherization HEAP program subrecipient agreements, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you very much. Number 12, a resolution authorizing Section 8 project-based voucher awards. I think Dan has this one.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
All
In
right.
Albany today, so I already changed it up. The first motion from Section 8 is the Section 8 project-based voucher awards. We issued our NOFA this past fall in parallel with a 9% RFP. At this time, we're making recommendations for 158 PBVs and 6 projects in what we call Track 1. In this case, these are all 4% low-income housing tax credit deals, and an additional 2 projects in Track 2 for 52 PBVs. These are projects that are existing and in the asset management portfolio. So that is a total of 210 PBVs. We anticipate there will be another batch of awards in the coming weeks for the projects that are also seeking funding through the 9% tax credit RFP. But these are the projects we're recommending now. I would note it was an extremely competitive round, the most competitive in the 5 years that we've been doing this, 98 proposals and over 2,000 PBVs sought. Happy to answer any questions. I do have brief information on each of the projects in the memo. If you'd like a more detailed briefing, we can get that.
Dan, super helpful. I think we see properties that we know historically, and it makes, like Vital Brooklyn, which I think we have some, and West Bath and so on, at least here in the city. So terrific. Any questions for Dan on this? And specifically any of the projects to which the PPVs will be allocated?
It's good that the Vital Brooklyn continues to get attention too, just for that, there's more and more, discussion around housing and healthcare and what that all means. And so it's good. And also, we know cost to seed has been a tough project. So it's also good to see that that's in there, given the fact that that's, pretty high profile, but also a great project.
Yeah. Great. Well, if there are any further questions for Dan, let's go back to Sarah and she can make it official.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing Section 8 project-based voucher awards, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Let's not let Dan go away. He's got number 13, resolution authorizing an amendment to the Section 8 choice voucher local administrative contract with Wyoming County Community Action, Inc. in beautiful Wyoming County, Western New York.
Great. So normally this time of year, we would be bringing for information only the annual renewal of the local administrator contracts, and that's also included in this resolution, just for your information, or as part of the board memo, I should say. But we did have one local administrator decide to leave the program this year. The County of Livingston, who had been administering vouchers in their county, has decided they don't want to do that anymore. So we did a mini bid among the other LAs, and the selected candidate to administer vouchers in that county is Wyoming County Community Action. Kind of good to see a smaller group get a little bit more of an economy of scale. That should help them. We anticipate approving them at $58 per voucher, which is reasonable and what the county would have gotten. So seeking approval specifically so that we can amend the contract for Wyoming County Community Action to also include Livingston County.
Dan, thanks. Just I don't know if you have an answer to this, but I'm curious why Livingston County walked away from the work.
It's the smaller programs upstate. Sometimes it's hard to make it work. The program has become a lot more complicated in recent years. That tends to make it more staff intensive. And I think the voucher business is an economy of scale business. And when you only have a few hundred vouchers, sometimes it's hard to make that work. Especially, they're looking at probably government salaries and benefits. So it might be a little more expensive for them than the nonprofit.
Right. And I bet you they're worried about a loss of school aid this year. So
yeah,
population
probably.
of the county.
Yeah.
So no, super about that's great. Any questions for Dan about this? Sarah, let's do it.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Local Administrator Contract with Wyoming County Community Action, Inc. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Third time this term.
Thank you all very much. We've got 14, a resolution authorizing the use of Section 8 administrative fee reserves for mobility counseling services administered by Enterprise Community Partners. Dan's got this one as well. Thank you, Dan.
Yep. Great time of year also because we get to revisit things with our partner in mobility counseling. This is a relatively new initiative at the agency and one that we're all proud of. Enterprise Community Partners administers the majority of our mobility programs, which have grown in recent years. You may remember we used to just have one in Westchester County, then we had 3 in Long Island and Erie County, and now we've added a couple more in the Hudson Valley and in Tompkins County. Enterprise oversees these groups for us. They track the outcomes, both short and long term. They provide technical assistance with a variety of other partners and keep the whole thing moving and with an eye on national best practices. So they have a budget for this year that adds a few new initiatives. Because we didn't add quite as many groups last year as we hoped, there was a little bit of money left over and we're moving that forward. That allows us to have a little bit smaller ask for this year. We're looking for $2.3 million. And that will hopefully allow us to add another 2 groups, which between HCR and HUD's program, which serves Rochester and the city, should really give great coverage to New York in mobility counseling and helping Section 8 families seek new opportunities in well-resourced areas.
Great. Dan, thanks very much. Thanks to Becky, who apparently worked on it as well. Questions for Dan? Sarah, let's do it.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing the use of Section 8 administrative fee reserves for mobility counseling services administered by Enterprise Community Partners. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you very much, Sarah. 15 is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with CASO Document Management, Inc. for an electronic records management system. And Tim Austin has this.
Good morning. As you may remember, we entered into a contract with CASO in 2019 for a 3-year period with 2 one-year renewals. The original catalyst coincided with the renovations at 641 Lexington Avenue, and CASO provided us a needed document scanning and storage solution. Of the original $2 million cap, we have spent approximately $1.26 million. Digitizing documents is not a capacity we have internally, and in theory, we are still creating documents and may need an ongoing service. We are pleased with CASO service and asking for a 1-year extension. Any questions?
Good that you're pleased with their services. And yeah, I think these agencies produce a lot of documents. See them every month. Well, you're small. Shouldn't have been every month. It sounds like a very important thing to do. If there aren't any questions, we'll ask Sarah to make this real. And then Tim can...
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with CASO Document Management, Inc. for an electronic record system. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Tim, for your presentation and for the support work. 16 is a resolution authorizing amendments to the legal services contracts that we have with the Cromwell, Usley, and Kyler Burke LLP and Rosario Tuma PC. And Amy will present this and correct all of my mispronunciations of the law firm's name.
It's a tough one. I feel you on that. Okay, so I was here back in November with Dar Campbell and Rosario asking for extensions. They've been doing a lot of work for us in our reversionary interest and litigation recapture services and some other real property, bankruptcy, foreclosure issues, and general legal issues with formerly Gozer, now RHC. I came back and I was here in November to get them an extension, but at that time we didn't have a good sense of what it was going to take to wrap up these programs. We worked very diligently with Dina's team to try to make sure that we are getting these done and these properties moved or in compliance as fast as possible. We've kind of looked at the amount of work that we have left in an effort to try to wrap this program up, and we have given not to exceed prices that we think are more than enough to accomplish the work. I'd also like to remind everybody these numbers are a little big, but again, it's because we're trying to wrap up the end of the program, so we have a final push to move these properties. And because courts had been a little bit behind, things had lagged during COVID, and now things are moving at a much better pace. So we've asked for an increase for Dar Campbell of 1.3, bringing it for a total of 3.9, and for Rosario an increase of 750 with a not to exceed of 1.65 and change. You can read that in the memo. Does anybody have any questions?
No, it sounds. It sounds like you've got to finish the work, and let's hope there's some, as you say, they're generous allocations. There'll be some change left over within when you're done, which we can allocate to something else. I'm pleased to see that one of the firms is a MW, is a minority-owned business firm, and the other is a women-owned firm. So that's all good. Very important. Any questions or comments from directors?
And I just add that these are coming out of the Sandy money. That's where the money is coming from, but we've talked to Stacy and everybody about budgeting and everything. So I just want to make that clarification on the funding source.
That's really helpful. Thanks very much. Thanks, Amy. Everybody good with this? We'll go to Sarah, please.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing amendments to the legal services contract with Dar Campbell, Usley and Kyler Burke LLP and Rosario Tuma PC. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Amy, stay with us for 17. A resolution authorizing an amendment to the legal services agreement that we have with Morris, Manning, and Martin LLP. What's going on?
Okay, Morris, Manning, and Martin LLP. A little history here. We had previously done a single source procurement contract with Cohen Moore LLP, but the attorney who we worked with, who has the subject matter expertise in federal procurement and contracting, Andrew Moore, he moved over to Morris, Manning, and Martin LLP. We did accept that change and then entered into a separate single source contract with Morris, Manning, and Martin LLP. We continue to utilize Andrew and the rest of the Morris firm to help us with federal procurement and contracting. This is important to us because we use them to maintain our PCBA contracts in order to keep HTFC as a successful bidder under HUD's RFPs. It allows us to collect fees and to maintain control over a significant portion of New York State's affordable housing. We're requesting a 1-year extension of this contract with Morris.
Sounds reasonable, Chairman. How do other people feel?
Sounds reasonable.
I see some nods of reasonableness. Sarah, thank you very much.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the legal services agreement with Morris, Manning, and Martin LLP. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Amy, thank you. Sarah, thank you. The remainder of the agenda items this morning for HTFC are informational, so we don't have presentations unless requested by members. I'll run through them quickly. 18 is a review of secret concur actions. 19 is a review of secret type 2 actions. 20 is an annual review of the memorandum of agreement that we have with the National Heritage Trust. And 21 is an annual review of the contract with Nan McKay Associates for Section 8 related training. 22, an annual review of the contract with Online Rental Exchange. 23, an annual review of the Section 8 performance-based contract administration services contract that we have with CGI Information Management Systems, Inc. And finally, 24 is a review of the current agency procurements and contracts in the lobbying restricted period, as we do every month. Please pay attention to that. If there aren't any questions from members who seek additional information about those items. We will move with the help from Lauren to the HFA and AHC agenda. Does that sound good? So the first items in the minutes, which are in the board books, shall be deemed approved in elections for members. Let me say that again, minutes from our meeting, it's not fully written out here in my notes, but that we had last month, I think on February 15th. If you've had a chance to look at them, which I hope you've had, and you're comfortable with the minutes, we will deem them approved. We can now take up items that require HFA and HTFC member action together. So we're still obviously meeting under HTFC, and we're adding an HFA item. We'll start with number 2, a resolution appointing a senior vice president for multifamily finance and development. And Ruth Ann will have the pleasure, she likes this part a lot, of introducing a very important new member of our team.
Yes, Alexa, do you want to come sit? I'm delighted to introduce you to Alexa Sewell. I'm presenting her for appointment as HFA Senior Vice President for Multifamily Finance and Development. You all will recall that Febia was previously in that role and left in October. Alexa is a veteran in, but I don't mean that in the housing world. I have
There's a lot of experience.
She most recently served for almost a decade as the president of Settlement Housing Fund, a nonprofit housing developer based in New York City. Previous to that, she worked at the Community Preservation Corporation alongside one of our other board members. And prior to that, worked both in the city of New York at HPE and also in DC in a congressional role. So returning back to her governmental roots, we're delighted to have her. I'm confident that Alexa will be a fabulous leader of our multifamily work. Her professional experience really speaks for herself, abilities that she will bring into this role. So I am thrilled to bring her here, and I recommend her appointment without reservation.
You know, when Febia left to go to Trinity Wall Street, you said she was irreplaceable. Isn't that going away?
And yes, here we are.
And yes.
That's with all of us.
I can tell you, I ran into Febia, and she's doing quite well.
There is life on the other side.
She's fine.
Great.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's very excited about this new chapter.
Alexa's on day 4. So
Ah.
she's fire hose drinking, I think.
Please don't ask me.
All right, not today. We'll let you off easy. Welcome. We should take some action to make this official.
Let's do it, yeah.
Yeah. Do we get Lauren to do this? I was hoping you.
Yes, I need to participate here.
I think.
Now before the HFA members is a resolution to be adopted that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA members and HTFC, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye and welcome, we say.
Welcome.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Alexa.
Look forward to working with you all.
Great, thank you. We're going to now take up items that require action by HFA Finance and Program Committee and then HFA members. I notice we're keeping TFFC going, are we not? Yeah. We have
Yes, but we're now moving to items that are
joint?
just on the, no, these are not joint.
I see.
We remain joint for the appointment of
Makes
Alexa,
sense.
and we now go to what is just HFA.
Right, got Russell. Okay, good. Well, number 3, resolutions of the Finance and Program Committee and of HFA members authorized approving issue of tax exempt or taxable fixed or variable rate bonds in one or more bond series in an amount not to exceed $141 million, an amount not to exceed $65,627,553,000 in HFA subsidy funding, and an amount not to exceed $1,375,000 in NYSERDA clean, and an amount not to exceed $16,072,109 in Federal Housing Trust Fund Program loan funds for the project known as Perry Homes 1 up in Buffalo, City of Light, Erie County. Russell Hubley will present.
Hi. Thank you, by the way, for approving my new boss. That's a leader.
Please pay close attention to your presentation.
Right. Extra. Okay, so Perry Homes, this is an ambitious redevelopment plan put in place by the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority. Their nonprofit arm Bridges Development and their development partner Penrose, New York, to rebuild the Commodore Perry Public Housing Project. The city of Buffalo developed its first public housing projects in the 1930s as part of the New Deal era housing reform. The Housing Authority of Buffalo was created in 1934 to construct public housing where slums would be eliminated to improve the standard of living. At least that was the mission. 3 large developments were built in the 1930s, the last one and the largest one being Commodore Perry Homes, named after the famous naval officer who fought in the British in the Battle of Lake Erie in the War of 1812. Commodore Perry was completed in.
Thank you for that, by the way.
I think it's important to understand where the names come from. By the way, the battle took place after 1812, as most of the battles of 1812 did. So, but that's another story. It was successful, at least from the United States point of view.
New Orleans,
Yep.
the history lesson.
Yes, which is why Buffalo was very happy to name a lot of things after the Commodore.
Like the Battle of New Orleans.
Yes, exactly. It was 1814, I think. Yeah. Anyway, this was finished in 1940, the project. It was just south of the downtown Buffalo area. It created 50 buildings, accommodated 772 units of public housing. These were designed as 2- and 3-story U-shaped buildings. I'm not sure if the presentation has the pictures, but they look like military barracks, not particularly pleasant looking, with not a lot of space in between, very marginalized. The project was extended in 1955 and created some 8-story buildings around the general area and some more barrack-style buildings to the south. As a lot of these public housing projects do, they fell into disrepair over the following decades. The neighborhood itself fell into further poverty and neglect. I'm not sure of the exact date, but eventually these buildings all became vacant and uninhabitable and became a magnet for crime in the neighborhood. So they've been sitting there for a while. In 2022, the agency received an ambitious proposal from the Housing Authority in Penrose, really to completely transform this blighted area into a brand new development, part of a larger revitalization plan for the whole area, with support from the governor and the mayor of Buffalo. Learning from the lessons of the past and with an eye for the future, this project, Perry Homes Phase 1, will involve the completion of the demolition of those remaining vacant buildings on an 18-acre parcel and create 27 new buildings, public housing, for a total of 405 units. Again, this is the first phase of what they plan as a multi-phase redevelopment. This new Perry Homes will not be conformist like the previous incarnation. It will include a variety of mid-rise towers, 2- and 3-story townhouse style buildings with mixed commercial and community space, as well as plenty of open space in between the buildings to give more of a sense of a community aesthetic. The ground floors will include residential amenities such as fitness centers, community rooms, a property management office. Laundry facilities will be located in the mid-rise buildings. The townhouse units will have in-unit washer dryers. The units will also have bulk storage space for the residents, and there will be surface parking throughout the development for residential and the commercial uses. The new Perry Homes will be built using robust energy efficiency measures that the agency promotes for its new construction design guidelines. This will include an all-electric project meeting the 2020 Enterprise Green Plus standards, the U.S. Department of Energy's Zero Energy Ready Home Version 1 program, and the agency's own Clean Energy Initiative program. What this all means is enhanced building envelope insulation, vertical ducted inverter-driven air source heat pumps for the HVAC. Please don't ask me to further explain. Electric hot water heaters.
So that's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
In Mitsubishi units.
Energy Star appliances, low plumbing fixtures, LED lighting, and high-performance windows. For the mid-rise towers, the 5-story towers, there will be solar panels installed on the rooftops. All of these new electric features, of course, creates a greater demand for electricity load capacity. And this is a consideration that we have to look into, and it's required some discussion with the utility provider, National Grid, who serves that area. National Grid has confirmed its ability to feed the new development, both on-site and off-site to the property. And these measures have been considered with the planning and construction scheduling in place. So all of this large-scale redevelopment does not come without some cost. It's a fairly expensive program, but the development team, with the support of the city and the agency, has put together a plethora of financing sources and a fairly efficient financing structure to make this all work. In addition to our HFA bond and subsidy, clean energy financing, the federal and state tax credits, Perry Homes will also be getting federal 45L tax credits, which were made available through the Inflation Reduction Act. incentivizing the creating of zero energy housing. The city of Buffalo will also be contributing funding through Restore New York and CDBG, a 15-year pilot tax abatement, and the Housing Authority will contribute its own capital into the project, as well as provide project-based Section 8 rental assistance to 284 of the 405 units. And then just a little bit about the financing structure itself. We're expecting about $123.5 million in tax-exempt bonds. These will be directly purchased by Chase, which instead of providing a typical letter of credit structure that we usually do on most of our deals, this means the bonds will be credit enhanced by the virtue of the bank purchasing them directly, and then collateralizing them with a dollar-for-dollar construction loan into the project. At conversion, the loan will be purchased and enhanced by Fannie Mae. This structure is useful on a large-scale project such as this because it eliminates the letter of credit fees and origination and annual fees, the bond marketing fees by virtue of the direct purchase, and it allows the bond interest to be assessed on a drawdown basis. Fannie Mae provides a lower interest rate by virtue of its mortgage-backed security program when it purchases the loan. So it helps to save probably several millions of dollars in efficiency that way. Finally, the construction of the project is expected to take about 3 years. The development team led by Penrose and contracted by Haynes Construction is a partnership that has done work like this before with us and with good success. The Yates Village Phase 1 and 2 developments with Schenectady Housing Authority is a good example of a similar type of project, and that they're going to convert this summer. Penrose was also the developer on our NYCHA partnership of a large financing rehabilitation in 2019, where we renovated over 1,300 units in Brooklyn. So it's a team that we're pretty confident in that can get the job done here in Buffalo. So, any questions?
Questions, comments? Sadie?
I have two questions. The first is seeing accrued interest. HCR's accruing their interest. Where did I see that? HCR accrued interest during construction. Is that typical?
Yes, it is. With our subsidy, we usually put an accrued rate on our subsidy during construction. And the reason we do it is because it's a tax credit basis eligible. So it actually increases equity. It's only during construction, and then that accrued interest is tacked on to the principal.
Back in. Okay. And then my other question is, I see a very modest amount of the CEI money, and I'm just wondering, what is the average CEI per unit that you're typically seeing? Like, at some point, the hope was that we wouldn't need the CEI anymore because it become routine to build these all electric, and
yeah,
side we then could use it for existing buildings, but I just wondered if you have any detail on that.
And in fact, this is, I think, the last project we're seeing that's a new construction that's going to utilize CEI. At this point forward, we're really focusing on existing buildings for the CEI program in order to expend what's left in their budget. And that's stretch goals here. So, because they're meeting our standard guidelines, in order to get CEI, they have to kind of go above and beyond. So I think the maximum is 25,000 a unit. I forget what they're getting here. Yeah, so
almost.
I'm not sure which particular item qualifies it for the CEI. I can look that up, but
It's okay.
yeah.
I was just curious. It's good to hear that the shift is going to the more deep cold.
Yeah, you're going to, from now on, for at least the next couple of years until we can expend all the funding, it'll be existing buildings.
This is a great project, by the way. Buffalo needs it.
A couple questions on the finances. Why did you decide to go with the Fannie structure?
More efficient, it's cost effective.
Are you guys doing a forward on this?
Yes.
Okay, so you are giving, how far forward do you guys go? Just curious, like 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah, it's a 38-month total period. So,
so the first mortgage interest though in year one, though, that is on the what is that on in the pro forma?
That's after conversion.
After conversion.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great. The other thing on the electric side, I don't know, the governor passed the what's it called? The utility thermal energy network, which is about doing geothermal. It was in the Senate bill several years ago about multi-buildings that are close together, and there've been a handful of districts that have been done. So and National Grid, for example, is a participant in that. This may be an interesting case to test out geothermal and what these districts that have been passed and supported by the PSC and other folks on being able to lower the load, more efficient heating systems. But that was like a Senate bill from several years ago.
What was the thing called that you said?
Geothermal district, what's
It's
the?
called the Utility Thermal Energy Network. Is the program that the governor, it was passed in 2022.
Great. We can ask Samantha about what that was. And
Yeah, if you create a microgrid, then you don't have the consideration or concerns with respect to national grid and whether or not the grid can handle it. And I think it's a great candidate, but I think it might be too late.
But there's others. We got others.
Yeah, but that's anyways, that's the only
Good to
thing.
know, yeah.
The other question is on the, I mean, obviously the MIF capacity is gonna be an issue on insuring buildings. And I love Lauren, we've thread the needle on risk share between the GSEs and SONYMA to expend capacity. And frankly, the guarantee of the MIF is less expensive than guarantees of the GSEs. So also figuring out whether like in the future, there's methodologies to create the risk share partnership between the MIF and the GSEs is something we should be, I mean, just given the ability to extend the capacity of the MIF, but also work to get diversify the credit of the open resolution as well. So
In the past, the GSEs have been reluctant to go insure with SONYMA, but
We-
their securitization model, but.
we tried. We did it with Penn. No.
We did, yeah.
It was with the it was with the NYCHA Penrose deal that we actually went through the headache of doing that, but whether it's worth seeing if that's a viable alternative. Sorry, Laura.
It's worth pursuing, especially on these large scale redevelopment projects. And we're going to be seeing a lot more of these in the coming, especially next year, I think. We have Marine Terrace, which is nearby Perry Homes, and that's going to be an even larger redevelopment. So we're still working out the kinks on the financing structure on that one.
How many of these have you done where the bank is buying the bonds during construction?
Not as much like with the 100% affordable housing projects. It's unusual. It's rare. We see them on the large scale deals. We used to do them more often with the mixed income projects where it was just cost efficient to do so. But I think we're looking to explore this option more often with these types of projects. And like I said, we're going to see a lot of these more large scale redevelopments where financially it makes a lot of sense.
It's a great.
Yeah, you also have to be able to find a bank that's willing to direct purchase our bond. Yeah, Chase has been a really good partner.
Great CRA.
Concludes the testing of the fire alarm system. Thank you for your cooperation.
Record. Russell, just I know you described this as phase one, and I think you said it's an 18-acre site.
It's particular.
And this is going to be something like 3 or 4 years of building this.
Yeah.
So what's in the crystal ball for phase 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Like
So
that.
in total, there's 1,000 units they want to create. So
Wow.
this is 405,
400, yeah, okay.
40% of it. I'm not sure if we're going to see it in 2 more phases or 1 large phase. It also depends on our financing abilities. I guess we also have to see how this goes first in terms of timing and scheduling, other issues like capacity in Buffalo. So I think by early next year, we'll probably get an idea as to what we're seeing for phase 2.
Great. This is not a tobacco settlement. We don't have Andy today, but he would remind us this is perilously close to a site that was considered for the new Buffalo Bills Stadium. When there was, remember, when they were thinking about sort of economic advantage to the city of having this not being in Orchard Park, but going to downtown Buffalo, I'm pretty sure this was really, really where they were looking.
It was, yeah.
It was right next to the highway. And so good that it's a blighted area and it's huge area. So it's good that this is happening, but people will need jobs. I mean, if I were channeling James Freeman, who's out making coffee, getting ready for sunny May, you look at this area in downtown Buffalo, it is what it is in large measure because industry left this area. It's not far from I wouldn't say the lakefront, but like the old industrial areas that were for so many years sustained, and for decades sustained a real powerful industrial economy that made Buffalo the second city of New York State. And that industry really isn't there now, with a few exceptions.
Yeah.
So, and these people are going to have cars, but they're living in downtown Buffalo. Well, there's bus service, and you can't hope that you just want to be a job as a croupier at the casino, right? So, but Mayor Brown knows that. People of the Housing Authority know that. I'll note, as you pointed out, just the history thing, that you said 1934. Our friend Jamie Rubin and I argue about this, about the founding of NYCHA, speaking of, right? I claim it's, if you really look at our college's namesakes biographers of the story of Fiero LaGuardia, who founded NYCHA, he really did all the work with the federal government in 34. The first NYCHA project was completed in early 35. And so that's recognized because there was a ribbon cutting and it made all the newspapers in the spring of 35 and first houses. But anyway, Jamie and I argue about it's 34 or 35. Because if it's 34, NYCHA is now in its 90th anniversary, right? But we should think about that because 1934 was, you just said, the Buffalo Housing Authority.
Yeah.
So.
Are you arguing about when to have the party?
Yeah. Well, because as it would have it, LaGuardia is home to the LaGuardia and Wagner archives. And so we have Mayor LaGuardia's archives. We have had that for years.
That's good to know.
And so we are also the archives of NYCHA for other reasons. And so we have, so Jamie and I are talking about a celebration of NYCHA's 90th anniversary and debating, I wanted to do it this year. Everyone that works with me said, it's too soon, we can't do it. They want to do it next year. And Jamie won because I think the NYCHA team wants to do it next year. But stay tuned for NYCHA celebrations. We all should get involved in.
First in the country.
Yes, but maybe not. You see, that's what people like Mayor LaGuardia wanted everybody to think, and President Roosevelt as well. But in fact, Buffalo, I've got to look into this now because you just.
Because I never heard of one in Buffalo that early.
The Buffalo Housing Authority dates to 34. It actually could predate.
Now, I don't know if it was.
And it was local?
Initially created in 34, but it didn't actually go into administrative existence until after that. I'm not.
I also think
Harold Ickes was giving out money to get these things started reluctantly.
I think the Syracuse Housing Authority also believes that it has one of the first developments or is one of the oldest.
It's very
also.
interesting.
I think there might be a lot of.
This is a project for the New York State history people in Albany, right? This is interesting.
We
need to move along.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I gotta. Let's do Perry Homes 1. Shall we do that, everybody? We good now? Thank you all for your comments and questions. We have taken the time on this, but it's huge. It really is a big project and so much work. Russell, thank you very much. Lauren, let's do it.
So now before the HFA members and the HFA Finance and Program Committee are resolutions to be adopted that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and for the Finance and Program Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Well done. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Number 4, resolutions of the HFA members authorizing and approving the making of an HFA subsidy loan in the estimated amount of $5,435,371 to purchase at Chambers project in Ulster County. This does sound familiar. Russell, give us an update, would you?
All right. This should be hopefully a much shorter presentation and a much cheaper one. It's 5.4 million. And this is purchase at Chambers. It involves no scope of work. It's just simply a request for a refinancing of an existing bridge loan. If you may recall, last month, for those that were here, I presented the Ulster portfolio, which is a financing for 3 properties in Ulster County that were acquired by Beacon Communities from a derelict previous owner. That's 212 units on 3 different sites using our new hybrid financing model for preservation, which is a combination of state tax credits and recycled bonds. By the way, I'm happy to say we're about to close that project in about 2 weeks. So that's been moving along nicely. When Beacon acquired those 3, they also acquired 2 other previously owned projects by this derelict owner. And one of them is called Purchase at Chambers. It's actually right on the same parcel as one of the ones we're closing in 2 weeks, which is Chambers Senior. Not to confuse all the names here, but Beacon acquired this property with those. It's 66 units of senior housing with a superintendent's unit. It was built in 2010. It's been maintained very well. It's not in need of any particular rehabilitation at this time. But Beacon acquired it with a bridge loan through Merchants Bank with the other properties. That bridge loan is set to expire very soon. And so we are proposing to take out that bridge loan with a $5.3 million subsidy funded first mortgage loan. So we can structure this because they have Section 8 project-based vouchers. We're able to structure this as an amortizing loan at 4.25% over 30 years, but it's funded through our subsidy program. And so my request here is for that purpose. Some of the money will also be going to fill their reserve coffers for replacement and operating reserves. One of the mortgage will be, I'm sorry, the loan will be secured by a mortgage and will also slap on a new regulatory agreement preserving the affordability of the senior housing for another 40 years. The project has been approved for a pilot with the town of Ulster. And as a final condition for receiving the loan, I've requested that Beacon participate in a solar feasibility study as part of a pilot program that's being developed by our sustainability team.
Great. You like that last
I
part?
do.
Yeah.
When you slap on the regulatory agreement, make it stick.
Yep.
Anything else for Russell? Let's do it, Lauren.
Okay, now before the HFA members is a resolution to be adopted that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously answered for HFA, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lauren, and thank you for your projects, especially the former. Russell, thank you. Good work. Our next item is the AHC consent item. It's number 5 on this morning's agenda. And it's a resolution authorizing awards of grant funds for certain projects. You have the memo. I'm sure Dominic, where is Dominic? Well, Dominic is in his normal seat. Nice to see him back there, holding up the back wall of our conference room. And if there aren't any questions for Dominic about the awards he's proposing to us for approval, Lauren, let's see if we can do that.
Now before AHC is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously reported, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Let me again thank Dominic and his team for all the work that goes into this. We spent 2 seconds on it, but we know how much it means to all of the people who will benefit from the support and how hard you and your team work to make this happen. So thank you, my friend. Lauren, I think we're coming to the end.
We are. We have an information item.
Yes, we should always do this. There's a shared information item, it's number 6, current agency procurements and contracts in the lobbying restricted period. And an HFA information item, which is 7, an annual review of the memorandum of agreement with the Natural Heritage Trust, which is a public benefit corporation. And again, if there are any questions about that, we'll conclude that there's no further business for HFA, HTFC, and the AHC boards. We'll ask Lauren kindly to ask for motions and seconds to adjourn this morning's meetings.
So assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA, HTFC, and the AHC boards, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the meetings are adjourned.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to transition straight away to our SONYMA meeting. And for that, ask SONYMA members to come. James is getting coffee. James McIntyre, James number 1 is going to have to leave. Said he will leave. And we thank you for your help today. See you next month.
I had to sit through it again.
You gotta sit through it again, Director Miller. No time for that.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Jesse and Chris, how you guys doing?
Okay, let me know. Thanks.
I know. Jesse's sitting there reading the one house budget bills. I can tell. Reading them on your phone. Right?
Just before it's Thank you.
All right.
It's a consent item.
Oh, with 2 Splendors?
Well, when we get
When we get to item number 2.
James is here. Professor Ford is not here today.
That's right.
Nor is Dave Capel.
Right.
And we're going to pull 2.
We're
No.
pulling number 2 is in there.
You have a quorum?
Well, we don't until James comes to the table.
Oh,
There
yeah.
he is.
Yeah,
Mr. Freeman.
we got the heads up in the back.
Good morning. Oh, yes, where you really do all the business over the coffee hour, right?
Early morning start.
Well, this is one of these meetings where, as your chair, I'm gonna feel guilty that you slept all the way in because we had a shortened end, made shorter. Because the night got cold or something. So good for you to spend some time getting coffee and catching up with the staff. That's gonna be more playful. That will be a more meaningful experience
It's a long way to come for a cup
than
of
the
coffee.
rigmarole we have to do now.
Gives me time to relax and
A
reflect.
little break from the day to day.
That's it. I can't do that because I
Let's
gotta
know
be in the
to
city today.
provide a service.
Oh, you're coming in, you had to come in anyway?
Nah,
We provide all kinds of services.
there you go.
That's right.
That's the excuse for them, so they don't bother me.
Oh, that's right, you tell them, I'm in the city.
Yeah, I'm in the city. I can't come.
You can't do that. Okay,
You have to leave at 11?
I do.
We're
What time
actually
is this meeting supposed to start?
I suppose they're at 10:30.
10:30.
10:30.
Couple of minutes behind. Let's go. I'm gonna pull up the SONYMA board book.
So what was pulled?
Item number 2.
IT consultant services contract with Alice Sinhua Chen.
I thought the minutes.
No, no.
Yeah, sounds like Dean is still working on that. Something's, you know.
It
But
was a
we-
consent item, but nonetheless, it is offset.
We
so
have, I think the only thing we're gonna have is money, right?
Yes,
It
And then
is.
some information items.
right.
Well, that's all right. It's the light end of the day. Which, you know,
But it's an important one. This is an item that we.
yeah.
Yeah.
Professor Ford reached out to me yesterday or the day before. Has a new responsibility. He has several new responsibilities. But one of them, he's the interim chair of the department at Medgar Evers in which he teaches. Because the chair, I believe, is on leave, like sabbatical or something. So he's running a department meeting right now and can't be here. So he reached out to me. And Dave let us know in advance that he just is out of town or something. And B is also, I think. Otherwise, we're all here.
We have a forum.
Well, we have
We're
Adams,
grateful
we're
for-
waiting for Wisnauskas. We have
Yes.
Adams, Wisnauskas. Budget Director Representative White, Jesse. And Miller, Gonzalez and Freeman, or not. There she is.
Here we go.
No, a good idea. Anyway, welcome,
Shall we?
welcome, James, and welcome, Mike. Everybody
Good
else
morning.
has done some other business here this morning around this table. Lauren, do you want to,
Yes, I'd like to ask for a motion to open the SONYMA board meeting
so move?
and a second, please.
Second.
Okay. I will now ask for individual votes from each SONYMA board member. We'll accept the previous votes of Chairman Adams, Ms. Wisnauskas, Ms. Miller, and Mr. Alzak, who voted to open up the earlier HFA, HTFC meeting, and Mr. Freeman, you can add your vote.
Yes.
So we're open.
Great, thank you very much, Lauren. We'll take up the SONYMA board items. Again, we have a short agenda today. The first item are the minutes, which are in the board book. These are the minutes from our meeting that we had back on February 15th. And they shall be deemed approved unless there are any objections or comments from directors. So everybody okay with the minutes? Great. The next item is 2, and it's been pulled because it's just not quite ready for prime time. So I have a feeling we'll see this item, which has to do with IT consultant services, next month in April. Lauren, we can skip that one over and go to 3, which is a resolution of the SONYMA board authorizing and approving the estimated excess balance for the mortgage insurance fund. And this is something Mike is here to give us an update on. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. So the calculation of excess balance is primarily the mortgage recording surtax received in the special account, net of the use of that surtax for new claims and new commitments. Last year, we received 181 million in surtax. This year, I think we'll receive an annualized amount of 109 million. So we're down about 72 million from last year as a source of what would be excess balance.
That's a reflection of the real estate market?
Yes, high interest rates,
Yeah.
just less activity. We will use about 13 million less than we used last year. We'll use about 6 million more for claims, but we'll use about 19 million less for reserves against new commitments. So net we'll use about 13 million less, but we received 72 million less. So there's a negative variance of 59 million from last year. Last year, the excess balance was 55 million. We have a negative variance this year of 59 million. So there will be no excess balance this year,
Isn't there negative 4 million theoretically?
theoretically.
No, it's hard to have a negative
Negative,
balance.
right. Yes.
But this goes to your question from.
Yeah, we asked earlier, Mike, and maybe you can give us a little update. I think it was sort of built into what you just said about what's happening out there with the mortgage reporting tax that funds the myth.
It's way down. It's down about 40% from last year.
And what's the most recent month? How timely is our information?
Since it actually started last January and February to go down. In the 2022 to 2023 statute year, it was 21 million, 13 million, 17 million, 19 million, and so on. February and March, it fell to 10 million and 10 million. And it has this year, it was 9 million in each of April and May, actually, and June. And it's been around 8 or 9 million every month since.
It's quite a drop.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry, what's the last month? What's the last month for which we have information?
Oh, February, when it was
Right,
8.5.
Let's see,
Let's
be hopeful.
Let's put the
Good in the
commercial real
spring.
estate market.
Summer maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, commercial market.
Yeah.
Residential.
And no,
market.
and no one, we used to see refis
Right.
of
Yeah.
office buildings and
Right.
hotels and shopping centers. We're just not seeing that.
They're empty.
Right. Plus interest rates are high. No point in refining.
Right, so until interest rates come down significantly. we're not
Right, I don't-
gonna change.
A lot of these buildings you can't do anything with.
Great. Any questions for Mike about this? It's kind of our only item today.
It's interesting.
Yes, that is there a couple of.
So because they suffer, we have to suffer.
Yes,
Well, we need to fund the fund,
yes.
give mortgage insurance. And just because we're talking about it, in this period when we have less really revenue, what sort of claims activity level?
Claims are up. They're up. They're up about 6 million from last year. But claims that we received last year, for which we set up reserves last year, have gone from bad to worse. So
That's
Say that, you mean claims in 2023?
yes,
Yeah.
new claims last year are still in claim status this year. And we actually, at our behest, CPC has gone to court to get receivers appointed for more than a handful of projects.
CPC projects are,
They're yes, CPC and Chase.
interesting.
There are no bond finance mortgages in default, but there are more than a few conventional mortgages.
Does that change any of our underwriting moving forward, those experiences?
None of the projects I have here.
We're not getting, these are largely rent stabilized projects with HPD second mortgages. And in the past, HPD has put in additional funds to bring delinquent projects current. It's not doing that now.
Doesn't have the money now.
So we'll see if the receivers, a lot of them are HTFCs and not-for-profits, if the receivers can turn them around.
It's fascinating, the relationship between the commercial market and affordable housing. You don't think the two are linked, but they
Yeah.
are.
Look, I think in the residential market, you have a lot of non-payment.
Yes,
Was a
very high
vivid
delinquency
carries
rates.
over now,
Yeah.
so I think a lot of build owners are struggling with not
Yeah.
paying rent.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're having trouble getting on the docket in housing court, and they're having trouble persuading judges
That
to
they're really
let
in
them
trouble.
evict tenants who haven't paid.
Is some of it a stimulus hangover problem? And, you know, both people getting stimulus during the worst days of the pandemic, individuals getting money that they might have used to pay rent, that money, that stimulus money dries up.
Yes.
I didn't get a job, I used my stimulus, I don't have that anymore. You know,
Yes.
some of that, plus there was,
There,
again, there's so many people, like in Queens, I think about our students and think of the situation of the so many people went a long time under the moratorium, not paying rent and
Mhm.
staying at a housing court. And then when that ended,
right.
it's like, okay, the window's open again, and now you gotta, you know, your
Right.
landlord's got a court date for you. It may be way out, but.
I mean, why
Yeah.
they're in,
but
why
it's
the residential.
like an overhang, right? Like it's a delay.
Yes. There are tenants who took the eviction moratorium as a rent moratorium.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but I think that's the reality. I'm not sure this is on the record, but for low-income families who have, you know, cash wages that they
Yeah.
lost during March and April of 2020, close to over 900,000 people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
You know, for some period of time, many of them.
Yes.
But they were and mostly immigrants and cash earners and low-income people of color in communities like Brooklyn, Bronx. And the only way you eat is your landlord's the bank.
Yeah.
So the moratorium meant I don't pay rent. I use that money to get my kids clothes and pay for food. And so then, but if you know, again, off the record, so one wonders if the length of the moratorium sort of exacerbated a problem, because the more I can go behind in my rent without fear, like I'm gonna get in trouble, you know, I'm kind of kicking the can. And then all of a sudden, my arrears are like more than I can handle, right? Because even if I go out and get a job at Starbucks, it's a long time before I can actually catch up. I don't know, like, because the moratorium lasted a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the thing, a lot of people were already at the edge.
Right.
From the beginning.
Right.
Now, if you don't have your job, you don't have that steady paycheck coming in. Now you're trying to catch up on those other bills, but now the interest on your credit cards aren't 3% anymore, they're 25% when you're behind 2 months, you're late 2 months.
Right.
They go to 25%.
Right.
Now you have the $35 bank fee.
Right.
So if you're $1 off, if you use your credit card at the store and you had $29 and it came in at 30, you're paying a $35 fee for every dollar that you're over, you know, every time it happens. So people just got deeper and deeper and deeper in debt. And then with the moratorium too, you turn around and the interest last year at 7.5% on a $200,000 home, they would have to pay $40,000 just in interest right now, which is more than what most are in that situation to make the entire year. So they'll never be out from underneath it unless there's assistance. But then with them spending more money, the Fed wants to slow the economy, so they're gonna lay those people off. So like we were talking earlier, 1,000 people for Dollar Tree are losing their jobs along with Family Dollar, Verizon's laying off, Macy's closing stores, and then the strip malls that are redundant in the community, they're all going out of business because everyone's consolidating.
So why they say employment is up? Why is employment up then, job creation?
Because you have to look at with the youth who used to work at McDonald's when they were 14, 15 years old. They're now being replaced by their parents.
Oh.
And then they're working 2 part-time jobs instead of a full-time job just to try and make it. So now your employment numbers go down, saying everyone's employed, but they're not making enough to eat.
Yeah, they're employed in low-income jobs.
Right. Right. That's what they call sort of an uneven recovery, right?
Right.
The cities regained a lot of jobs, but not the same jobs necessarily.
Well, that's the thing too, even with the universities and colleges and stuff, having to pay that excess debt for your tuition, housing, and everything else, these kids are in a position of where they're paying back $100,000.
But it's also the inflation, just in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel it. See how much my bills change when I go to the supermarket.
Well, this brings it back to Mike. I mean, all of these are the sort of macroeconomic issues that include a slowdown in the transactions that normally would be taxable under the
We
MRT.
need to see those graphs.
And hence you're down, like you say, to sort of 7 digits per month in revenue and not 8 or 9, or 8 anyway.
Is this,
Questions for Mike?
I'm gonna put it, is this mirroring what's happening in China right now? Because there's a slowing down in their economy for housing. It's tanking real fast right now.
John?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think there's a decline in real estate values. I think there's a decline in new mortgages originated.
Which is what we.
Right, sales
which is what
trends
we
are up
collect.
and sale prices are up.
Right, yeah. So-
Yeah, values are too strong. But bless you, but because of high interest rates, it's not the normal activity that would result
Yeah.
in the MRT. Fewer mortgages to record. All right, Mike, thank you very much. Lauren, what, do we need to do something to make this?
We need to adopt this. So now before the Sunny May Board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Sunny May Board, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Lauren, thank you. Mike, thank you. We had a, I should draw your attention to the agency procurements in the lobby restricted period, right?
Yeah.
So there are two things in our materials, just to bring to your attention. As always, please be aware of the current agency procurements in the lobbying law restricted period. And there is, back to what we just discussed with Mike, some details around the MIF in terms of our monthly report of the Mortgage Insurance Fund for February, so a couple months back. That's what I was asking about. And that really is the end of our agenda for today.
It is.
So I think, Lauren, there's no further business. I'd ask kindly for you to seek motions and seconds to adjourn this morning's meetings.
Assuming the first and second previously entered for Sunny May, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motion is carried and the Sunny May meeting is adjourned.
Just want to recognize the Herculean effort of Member Freeman to come all the way into town.
Yes.
For what is probably the shortest Sunny May meeting I think I've ever witnessed. You know, thank you, James. Appreciate it.
No problem.
So yeah, that was fast. The numbers really are staggering. I look at that.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's amazing. It really is.
Well, I mean, February
Mike is
2 years ago was 25 million and this year was
It's 8-4, so a third.
8,000.
from 2 years ago. Last year was 10.
And this year.
21, 22, which is not, this is like post-COVID, right? Still.
Yeah.
Well, Nobody ever thought the mortgage reporting tax